And just please be open, because no science supports her allegations.
No science supports your allegations, Abby. I mean, you don't yourself have any scientific proof that aspartame was your problem.
I absolutely do have proof that aspartame was a problem. There's been several research studies that have come out which clearly indicate that aspartame causes cancer. Ramazzini studies for one, the Troco study another. 92% of research which is carried out by independent researchers, i.e. not industry funded, say that aspartame causes harmful effects, whereas 100% of research carried out by industry funded say that aspartame causes absolutely no harmful effects. And there's a huge discrepancy there. I think there's a problem.
There is a huge discrepancy there, and in reality people have tried to ban this in many, many countries, the United Kingdom, United States. How do you account for those discrepancies in studies?
Well, I'd like to address a couple points. One, the Ramazzini study has been reviewed by every major food authority, and everyone has concluded that that study was flawed, and the results are inaccurate and are not credible. It has therefore not affected any regulatory aspects. In terms of the question whether or not industry versus academic or other types of research, what differences they show, you have to look at how they're conducted. Industry will only conduct a study with aspartame given orally in amounts that are usually consumed, whereas other people will inject it intravenously, will inject it IP, will add it directly to cells. And so, yeah, you get results, they're not relevant.
The following studies used in most cases aspartame ingested orally to replicate as closely as possible doses that humans would normally be exposed to. Formaldehyde poisoning from aspartame, the Troco study 1997. An independent study in Europe demonstrated that aspartame ingestion at relatively small levels lead to the accumulation of formaldehyde bound to protein in the liver, kidneys, brain, and other organs and tissues. This was a published, peer-reviewed, independent study. One of the techniques for misrepresenting research is to avoid mentioning the following research altogether. Some of the side effects of chronic formaldehyde poisoning from the following studies conclude: irreversible genetic damage from long-term, low-level exposure, headaches, fatigue, chest tightness, sleeping problems, burning skin, fatigue, chest pain, dizziness, headaches, fatigue, age-mediated sensitization, musculoskeletal, gastrointestinal, and cardiovascular symptoms, headaches, tiredness, headaches, dizziness, nausea, lack of concentration ability, cytogenic effects of blood lymphocytes, fertility, adverse effects, cognitive adverse effects, seizures and neurobehavioral impairment, headaches, skin problems, low birth weight, neurobehavioral symptoms, memory problems, equilibrium and dexterity impairment. Methanol is quickly absorbed from aspartame ingestion. Methanol is converted into formaldehyde in the body. Some of the formaldehyde is converted into formic acid and eliminated by the body. However, the Troco study demonstrated that aspartame ingestion at low levels by rodents, 20 mg per kilogram body weight acute dose or 200 mg per kilogram body weight chronic dose, leads to formaldehyde accumulation in the liver, brain, kidneys, and other parts of the body. The formaldehyde was bound as adducts to proteins and DNA. Research in humans demonstrates that adduct formation can occur from formaldehyde exposure. Another way the reviewers can convince medical professionals that chronic formaldehyde poisoning from aspartame is not a problem is to convince them that the methanol obtained from aspartame and then converted into formaldehyde in the body does not increase methanol levels in the blood plasma. Table 25 on page 692 of the Magnuson Review purports to show several studies where plasma methanol levels did not rise except for when very large doses of aspartame were ingested. What they don't tell you, but what can be seen by reading the research, is that these industry-sponsored studies used an extremely old methanol measuring technique from 1969 that would not be able to see any plasma methanol increases until it went up by 500 to 600%. Relatively small amounts of aspartame can cause a doubling of plasma methanol levels. Legitimate researchers use plasma methanol measuring techniques that are not worthless. The fact that the Magnuson reviewers did not mention any of these issues proves that they are either not familiar with the research or would knowingly keep crucial information from readers.
All right, so we're coming back to the fact that you say take anything to excess and you could well have problems with it. What is the safe level of aspartame?
The safe level is called the acceptable daily intake, and that has been set by the WHO and by various other food authorities. Depending on where you live, it's either 40 or 50 milligrams
Put simply,
per kilogram.
how many cans of diet drink would that be?
For an adult, it's about 20. For a
20,
child,
that would be a day?
a day.
20 cans a day would be
or
safe.
100 packets of your sugar sweetener.
There are over 90 disadvantageous symptoms associated with this. From, as I said before, diabetes, cancer, psychological, neurological, blindness even. Are all these people misguided?
They are extrapolating things, for example, the blindness. Methanol, which at very high doses can cause blindness.
Right.
You cannot produce enough methanol from consuming aspartame to cause that result.
All right, very quickly to sum up, Bernadene, the science tells us it's perfectly safe?
At the levels we consume, correct.
Abby, your response?
I absolutely disagree. I just want to say one thing. Methanol in aspartame is absolute free-form methanol. There's nothing to counteract the toxic breakdown.
Well, Bernadene's saying that you're wrong, so I'm afraid there's science versus anecdotal evidence. But the anecdotal evidence does exist, Bernadene.
It does.
So has that helped us out very much? Thank you both very much for coming along this evening. Will we go and buy diet drinks now, or will we not?
The segment ended here with Paul cutting off Abby as she was about to explain why free from methanol is so dangerous. Another way for Dr. Magnuson's reviewers to convince readers that the methanol from aspartame converting into formaldehyde and accumulating is not a problem is to compare the methanol levels in aspartame to that in fruits and other products. This argument put forth by the reviewers was largely addressed in an independent review in 1984 by Dr. Woodrow Monty entitled, Aspartame, Methanol and the Public Health. Dr. Monty pointed out that there are protective factors in traditionally ingested food drinks that contain methanol. For example, wine has high levels of methanol, but it also has high levels of ethanol. The ethanol blocks the conversion of methanol into formaldehyde so that the methanol can safely be eliminated in the urine and breath. Fruits also have protective factors to prevent the conversion of methanol into formaldehyde as detailed by Dr. Monty and as detailed in his heavily referenced article entitled, Scientific Abuse in Methanol Formaldehyde Research Related to Aspartame. All of these arguments have been addressed in detail in the scientific literature and on the following web page, www.holisticmed.com/aspartame/abuse/methanol.html. What about the industry-sponsored studies Dr. Magnuson says are the reliable ones? In Section 6 of the review entitled, Effect of Aspartame on Seizures, they cited two industry-funded double-blind studies. The way these studies are presented, the reader gets the sense that a large amount of aspartame will not cause seizures, even in persons who are predisposed to seizures. What they didn't tell the readers is that nearly all of the subjects in these two aspartame industry-sponsored studies were taking anti-seizure medication during the study. It is obvious that anti-seizure medication can help prevent seizures, but the Magnuson reviewers presented these studies as if they had relevance to the overwhelming majority of people who do not take anti-seizure medication. Also, the review left out information that the aspartame used was, according to industry consultants, not bioequivalent to aspartame taken in real-world products. The aspartame was given in slow-dissolving capsules, which tremendously reduces the biochemical changes that normally occur from real-world aspartame ingestion, allowing the body to eliminate more of it before it is transformed into formaldehyde. According to a NutraSweet company representative, the 2-week Ch1 study was to be conducted on 20 subjects, yet only 10 subjects were described in the publication. The reviewers did not question what happened to the other 10 subjects. The review is literally loaded with deceptive, misleading distortions and convenient omissions of important facts. She says that the review is momentous. Perhaps a momentous example of poor science is closer to the truth.